Hi guys, it's Ross again here. Today I'm going to show off a product that I quite enjoy. Is micro sole and micro set. So this stuff is good for transfers, softens up the transfers, bonds it to whatever you want to stick it to reduce the ripples and air pockets you might get under a transfer. So one of the main issues for me for transfers is Space Marine shoulder pads. So unlike sticking it to a tank or something, the shoulder pad is curved. So that's going to be quite difficult to get a flat transfer. So not only does it curve left to right, but also curves the top to the bottom as well. So it's quite difficult when applying a transfer to get it nice and smooth, so it looks like it was painted on the model rather than you've stuck the transfer on it. It's fairly obvious. So these guys, they're Space Marines. They're supposed to look as realistic as possible. So you don't want it to look like a transfer has been applied to his armor. It should look like it's been painted on. So as flat and smooth as possible to the armor would be brilliant. So once you've painted the model, if you want a nice smooth area, you can always apply some matte varnish or some gloss varnish. It doesn't really matter at this stage because you'll put matte varnish over the finished product anyway to seal it in. Oh, well, that's what I do anyway. This is the way I do it. There's many different ways to do it, I suppose. So I will prep the surface first, get it nice and clean. I could put a varnish on it so it's nice and smooth, because you want to get it as tight as possible to that shoulder pad there. Alright, so this stuff, brilliant, relatively inexpensive, and there's details on the back of the bottle, which is even better. So the general idea is get the surface nice and clean, apply the varnish if you like, to get it nice and smooth. Like I said, the smoother it is, like a mirror finish, the easier it is for the transfer. So then all the details are on the bottle anyway, but you apply the blue stuff first, the micro set, and when you do apply your transfer, which I'll show you in a second, and make sure it's nice and smooth, and you can dab it with cotton wool bud or whatever you like, smooth it onto the shoulder pad. And once that's done and it's dry, you apply some of this stuff. So it will soften the transfer and it would really bond it to the shoulder pad. Make sure it's nice and smooth. But all the details are here. But I'll run you through the video anyway. So you get your whatever you want to put the transfer on. For me, it's a Space Marine with my transfer sheet. So I'll cut out my transfer I want to put on that dude. So try this guy. Purely because he's a sergeant and he'll probably need a yellow symbol, which is best on a black shoulder pad. So these guys aren't finished by stretch of imagination, so don't judge me. It's literally just showing you guys the video. So I've cut the little thing out. I'm going to soak it in water for a second. I like to place it on a tile. So allow the water to soak in and wait a few minutes as you would normally. Make sure the surface is nice and smooth, and you can apply some matte or gloss varnish at this stage if you wish, which I think I'll do. So I'll give it a good shake. So this is just anti-shine varnish. You can use whatever you like. So this is Army Painter. You can use whatever you like. Just put a little bit on my tile so I don't waste it. And apply it to the shoulder pad. There we go. Nice even coat. And wait for that to dry and that to soak through. So after a couple minutes, this should be dry and that should be soaked through. So it says on the back of the bottle, brush micro set onto the model where the decal is to be applied. A little bit of this onto the shoulder pad. Okay. Screwing the lid back on because I will tip over. I'm good like that. So that should be nicely soaked in. Let's see if this guy wants to slip and slide. Yes, he does. So you could use tweezers, or you can use a brush, whatever is easiest for you. Okay, so you want to apply it to the model. And once applied, get into the position, get the transfer in the position you want it to be in. So I'll zoom in a little bit for you guys. So I'm going to move it around a bit. So hopefully there's plenty of micro set on the shoulder pad so this can slide around. But if not, you can always apply a tad more. I'm trying to get it roughly central. It's roughly where I want it. Now you'll see what I mean about the transfers now. You'll see that it's slightly creased, as you would get normally if you were applying water. So I'll apply a little bit of micro set to the shoulder pad. Softens up the transfer a little bit. Apply all over the transfer and the shoulder pad. And just work it around. Hopefully after a few minutes of me pushing it to where I want to go, it should shape to the shoulder pad. That's the general idea, anyway. So if it's a tank and if it's a flat panel, it'd be so much easier, but what's the point in showing you this stuff on an easy flat surface that's probably going to be okay with just water anyway? Might as well use it on something a bit more difficult. And just work it in. Keep stretching it. Hopefully you start seeing the ripples disappear. So it's best to do this at the stage before you're applying weathering techniques and chipping, because you can always put the weathering over the transfer. And same with the chipping, you can always chip the hell out of the transfer once it's dry. So I'm trying to push it around, trying to work it in. Just a nice soft bristle brush. It doesn't have to be a decent brush. Like I said, some people use cotton wool buds, you know, earbuds. You're supposed to stick them in your ear, but hey ho, people do. Just keep working it, keep working it. And if you think it's too dry, apply some more of the micro set. Okay, so once you're relatively happy with this guy, you can see it's still quite shiny. So this is when we've got micro sew comes in, so it's the red. So you start with the blue, then you apply the red. So soaking my brush in it. Still a bit shiny, but relatively flat. So this stuff does the final stage, and it should really bond it into the plastic. So gently dabbing it in. Just working those last little edges. Because if you notice the colour of the transfer of the black piece is on a sheet section as well, so I don't know how clearly you can see this. So you've got a couple millimetre overlap with a clear transfer sheet. And that's the bit you need to work. So the main colour should be pretty smooth by now, but it's that last little overlap. You don't want to mess around with it too much, because you might end up tearing the transfer because it's softening it. Nice and soft. So it bonds in really neatly. Just push it down as much as you can. Work it in. So that's not too shabby, that's not too shabby. You wait for this stuff to dry, and if you're still not happy with it, you can always reapply. So don't be afraid to go, yeah, that's not quite right. I'll hit it again. So I'm relatively happy with that. I'll wait to see what it dries like. And if I am happy, I will put some varnish over the top and seal it in at final stage. But so far, ignoring the shine, because it's still a bit moist, it's looking pretty smooth to the shoulder pad. Right, I'll come back when it's drying. Okay, so shoulder pad dry. Applying a little bit of varnish over the top. It's a nice and clear varnish. Smooth as I can get it. It's not the neatest brush in the world, it doesn't have to be, it's a shoulder pad, I'm not painting anything fancy. There, okay, so that is an anti-shine varnish. So at the first stage you can have gloss varnish if you want to. Makes it real smooth to put a transfer on. There we go. And I'll show you the final stage. Well, not a stage, just showing off the model when it's all dry. Okay guys, so that should be the transfer, nice and smooth, bonded to the shoulder pad, and you can't see, well hopefully you can't see any of that clear transfer overlapping. So nice and smooth to the shoulder pad, like it's been painted on. So that's micro sew and micro set. It's so much easier if it is a flat panel, but if you have got a curved panel, like Space Marines, and you've got like 50 of these guys to do, rather than getting angry, just use a little bit of micro sew, micro set. Easy to do it in batches, do 10 models at once, and it's not a problem at all. Thank you very much for watching, guys.